Hey guys, Boot and NJ here. I'm Boot. We're in New Jersey, and today we are going to be doing a video about wrapping coils. Specifically, I'm going to be wrapping some dual coils on a Still dual coil dripper, and I got a buddy of mine. This is from my buddy Tim. Requested some info on it, so I'm going to go ahead and do a video, and I hope it helps out some of the newer vapors getting into mechs and RDAs. So here we go. Okay guys, first off, what I want to talk about a little bit is the mech mod. Now, a lot of you may have started on those Ego batteries. I have one, and let me just pull it out here. It's a pink one I got from my mom, and unfortunately she just didn't like it. I don't know if it was, maybe she just didn't give it much of a chance, or it just wasn't for her, but either way, I ended up with it for now, and it's not the worst, but it's not the greatest. I've seen people use those stick cigarette ones, and they're just awful. I don't know how anybody could be satisfied with something like that. So I upgraded to one of these Ego batteries. This one has a clear cartomizer tank on it. Let me go ahead and take a toot off of it, and I'll show you, how it vapes. I mean, it's okay, a little bit of vapor, you know what I mean. Some people this does the job, but me, I'm not a big fan. The only reason why I have this tank on here at all is because it goes together well, and it sits in my bin of mods and stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and stash this back over here, and I'm going to show you a couple of the different mech mods I've reviewed here. I've got the bolt, which is a clone bolt, so it's a little bit of a piece of crap. Had a little problem with it. I sent to the place I got it from. They sent me a new top piece, so if you notice it doesn't quite match, whatever. This has wires in it instead of being an actual mechanical switch. It's a wired switch, so the hit on it isn't so great, but still, it's a mech mod. It gives you the 3.7 volts off the battery. The draw, like I said, the amp draw isn't pulling because it's wired, because it's not straight mechanical. So next I'm going to go into another mod I've got, a step up from that, the EA clone I got off of fasttech.com. Now this has a button on the bottom, which I really liked. It was a little refreshing from my other mod, because my other mod, the Nemesis, has a bottom switch. This one has a little button on the side, so I don't have to worry about putting it down and having problems. This one, on the other hand, is a little bit lighter of a draw than the Nemesis. So I'm going to go ahead and take a toot off this and show you. This is actually a Pro Tank 2 Mini. So go ahead and take a little hit for you. It's a little light because usually I run the Pro Tank 2 on something that's regulated, something I could turn up the voltage on or the wattage on. I prefer voltage as to wattage. Some people like wattage. I like voltage. However, if you get yourself an Ohm's catalog, I'll move on to the next mod here. My next mod is my Nemesis. Okay, this is an 18650, just like the other two mods. This one does have the bottom switch. It has this weird locking ring on the bottom of it, which tends to get stuck sometimes. And if you try to squeeze it, it's so thin that you'll end up getting, the whole thing will turn. So I just real lightly, I keep it backed off like a thread or two. And this one right now I have a clone, Helios, or Chelios from China. Has a single coil in it that's rated at like I believe it's a 0.5 ohm coil. So it is sub-ohm. It's on a battery. Battery's not fully charged. I've been using it for a while here. But I'm going to go ahead and take a hit on this. Now, the dripper I'm using has an airy draw, so I'll get a little bit better of a vapor out of it. Okay, that's not great, but it's not bad. It gets me through my day. I've been waiting to do this build just for my buddy Tim, who messaged me the other night and told me he was getting a mech mod and a dripper. Wanted to know if there was anything, he might have needed to know. Well, pretty much it's standard. You just slap your battery in, make sure your battery has clean contacts on it. Make sure your mod is clean of any oil. They use oil in making these things. So make sure to clean it up. Other than that, I mean, just put your dripper on. Give your dripper a good wash first before you wrap it. Go ahead and, wrap your coil, put in your wick. I personally use the rayon cotton wick, which is like a newer thing. Some people use regular cotton, and some people just use the original silica wick. I personally can't stand the silica wick. I think it doesn't wick fast enough for as much as I vape. I practically chain vape the shit out of this all the time. So I am going to be using this mod, but I'm going to be wrapping on the Stillaire dripper, which I'm going to use with this drip cap I got with the Mad Catz dripper, which I absolutely freaking hated. Yeah, that's about it. Let's dive down and get into a build for the Stillaire. Okay, guys, so what I got here is the Stillaire on the Nemesis mod. Hopefully you can see that pretty well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple things here. This is the drip cap. The drip tip, I should say. Drip tip, small, has a hole through it. You just put it on top of any of your mods to, take the hit. You can see in this one, there's a strange little cup in there. Now that makes it a little difficult to drip straight into the mod, or I should say into the atomizer. That is one of my biggest complaints about this atomizer. Most of them don't have it though, so you'll be lucky you can just pull the drip tip and drip right into it. I prefer to keep the drip tip on. The way I drip in this is I just pull out, there's the centerpiece here, which has airflow holes in it, and you can see the collar here has airflow holes in the sides. Okay, this is a dual coil. So I'll go ahead and pull off the collar, okay, and I've got my 3 posts with my 3 screws on top. One of the screws is mismatched. It's a little long, just in case in the video you can see it. It does have the 3 holes in it. I don't know if that'll focus up or not. It has 3 holes in it, and that's for your dual coils. Now what I'm going to show you now, as you can see, I've got my screwdriver. I've got my, well, I don't really need pliers, but it's always good to keep these in a little vape toolkit. So I go into my little vape toolkit. One of the things you're going to need, toenail clippers or a good pair of wire clippers, okay, to clip the wire. Today I'm going to be working with 28 gauge Kanthal. It's not great as far as sub-ohming, but it does the job. I've also got a couple of screwdrivers here, which are small. This is a tri-wing screwdriver to fix I believe it was a Nintendo DS at one point. I've used it a few times, but it comes in really handy for making coils. Okay, so some people just like to wrap straight coils, but I like to do what's called a parallel coil, which is pretty much, it's like having 2 pieces of wire in one coil. So I'm going to pull a good, I'll say, yeah, see, now that's about maybe 5 or 6 inches right there. The only reason I'm going to use less is because I have a thinner gauge wire, so I'm going to use about a 1/2 inch less. I guess that's about 4 inches. So this is where the toenail clippers come in. They make great wire clippers because they're multi-purpose. So, all right, so I've got my piece of wire here. I don't know if you can see that. I really hope you can. Let me just take a look in the camera and see if you can see that. Very, very lightly. Well, anyway, okay. I don't think it's going to get much better than that, so I'm going to go ahead and fold this in half, okay? And because I am using 28 gauge wire, I prefer like a 26 gauge, or even a 24 gauge. I'm going to go ahead and fold this wire in half. This is where my vape pliers come in handy. Oop, one of my screwdrivers fell out, and I'll get that later. And I'm going to use the pliers to pinch the end so it makes a complete crease. Okay? And what you want to do is you want to keep these wires paralleled. not crossed over each other, just paralleled. Okay, now I am going to go with less wraps because, like I said, this being a thinner gauge wire, it doesn't have a high, it has a higher ohms than it would if it was a lower gauge wire. Lower gauge wire means lower resistance. So I'm going to hold this with my thumb against the flat edge of the screwdriver here. And I'm just going to go ahead and wrap a couple of coils here. Keeping the wires flat against the thing here. I'm going to go with one wrap. Okay, there's one. And here comes two. And two is really light, so I'll go for the three if I can. Well, actually, two will have to do for me. So I went 2 wraps here, which is really cutting it low. Okay, I'm not gonna play any games here with you. You want to try to get on a different thickness. You would normally go about maybe 6 wraps, something like that. This is going to be 2. I'm just going to grab both sides of this and pull it tight with my pliers to make sure that, as you can see, the wires are paralleled. They're all set together. Okay, so that was 2 wraps of parallel 28 gauge. Okay, now I'm going to keep this on the screwdriver, and I'm going to kind of bend these so that they scoop from underneath. Okay, I'm just going to push down, and that way it makes a scoop. Okay, so that when I try to put these through the holes here, they will scoop right in. So this is the tricky part. I always have trouble getting these wires lined up. Let's see. Yeah, that's the fat side. So I'm going to go ahead and... You know what? I really can't see this. I'm going to adjust my light here. See if I can make this a little bit better for myself. There we go. That's so much better. So I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, I didn't pinch this end good enough. So some of you may have, bigger holes in your atomizers. Unfortunately, I do not. And being on a budget, as I am right now, currently unemployed, so I can't really do anything without it. This I bought from China. It is a clone, so it probably has different holes milled in it. There we go. Got one side through. Ugh, now I have to get the other side through, which I should have done beforehand because this lead was longer. One of the biggest tips I can give you is make one of your leads longer than the other side, because when you try to... You know what? It would be good if I unscrew this screw a little bit more too. This screw is longer than the other two, so I kind of miss... Well, I kind of uneven-eyed it. So, and you want to make one side longer than the other so that you can put it through very gently and nicely, and it gives you a better angle at which to put it through. But once you have it through, okay, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and pull the screwdriver back, but keep it around the screwdriver so that it maintains shape. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab my pliers, grab both leads, I'm going to pull it through. I'm going to pull it through so that it gets nice and tight on the other side, okay? This is a very important thing here, to have one side, to have it nice and tight where you can just screw down. I always screw down the outside post first because it is a, you know what? Looks like my other little gizmo, my other little piece of Canthol slipped out. Unfortunately, I made this a little uneven, so it's a little bit of a pain in the butt. But that's okay because I'm fixing it right now. I'll go ahead and pull this coil off to the other side. And what you always want to do is make sure you have your mod locked when you're doing this kind of thing, on a mod because you don't want to accidentally fire it and short circuit it or burn yourself. Okay, what it is this post in the center is positive, the two on the outside are negative. So that way you know, and you don't short yourself out, burn yourself, whatever the case. This one I'm going to go ahead and, just pull on here, get that tightened up, and then I'm just going to pull it upward, okay, so that I can cut it off later with no problem. The side I'm going to pull over to the side so that I can trim that off later. And I'm just going to go ahead and, oh, I pulled it out again. That's okay, because as you can see, my coil is away from the lines a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and push it down a hair, okay, and I'm just going to pull that out. Now I'm going to go ahead and make my other coil the same way. You want to try to keep continuity between the two sides and make them even, because you got to remember, when you're wrapping a dual coil, you have to take whatever it is and half it. You have to divide it by 2. So if you make a 3 ohm coil, right, and then you make another 3 ohm coil, your total on this build is going to be a 1.5 ohm build, okay? And it seems a little strange at first, but you'll get the hang of it eventually. Now this is going to be the tricky one, because this one is the center post, which has already wires in it. So I have to try to feed these through with the other wires already in there. This is going to be quite the biatch. Eventually I will get it. Okay, so I finally got it. These are all the extra wires coming off the sides, off the centers, whatever the case. I'm going to go ahead and trim them off here and show you what it looks like cleaned up. Okay, make sure to keep all this stuff together, because you end up dropping pieces of it around and then you end up stepping on it. Kanthal doesn't feel nice when it gets stuck in your foot. Just a safety precaution. Okay, so as you can see now, I've got 2 of these. I'm going to go ahead and take the lock off and give it a test fire. Okay, you always want to give it a test fire just to make sure that your coils are nice and even. What will happen is they'll start to glow. I'm going to go ahead and switch batteries. This battery's a little dead. Okay, so I'm going to give this a little test fire. And looks like we're not getting too much here. So I'm going to go ahead and pinch these guys together here. Okay, so after adjusting, I've got both sides firing. They're glowing nicely. Okay, now I'm going to let it cool for a bit, put the lock back on. Okay, now I'm not sure what this is. I'm going to go ahead and check it. I'm going to go ahead and check this on my Vamo. My Vamo has a ohm reader on it. Okay, when I put it on, it's reading 0.1, which I think that may be a glitch. I don't know. Who knows? But it is reading 0.1. Okay, so it's a possibility that that is correct. It's a possibility that it is not. I'm having a little trouble with my Vamo lately. The pins on the inner head seem to be acting up. But what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of this rayon. Now, I don't know if you've seen this before or not. This is the rayon that's used from Sally's Beauty. I think it's like $9 for a box of like 500 feet of it or something. It's a ridiculous amount. However, I only really use a little bit at a time, probably about a small cotton ball size. And I'm just going to break that in half. Okay, maybe a little bit more to that side. There we go. Now I've got 2 little puffs. What I'll do is I'll take one side and I will pinch it. Okay, I'll just pinch it. As you can see, I made a little point here. And I'm going to go ahead and just feed it right through my coil. Okay, when it comes out on the other side, I'll give it a little tug, snug it up, tuck it underneath. Okay, and I'll take my screwdriver, I'll tuck this little puff underneath the coil as well. So you can see my coil is small on this one. However, it is a very, very strong coil. Very low resistance coil. So I'll do the same thing with this one. Okay. Now I'll go ahead and feed it through. One did not want to go through so well. And if you have trouble, needle nose pliers or a pair of tweezers can be very helpful in this tight little spot. Okay, so that's done. Go ahead and tuck that one underneath. Go ahead and tuck this big old fluff of cotton underneath. And you can see I've got both coils here and here. Okay, and I'm just going to coat the shit out of this with juice. Okay. What I got is coffee juice that I made. It's 60-40, 60 VG, 40 PG, and it's a 3 milligram nicotine blend. So I'm just going to go ahead and coat the hell out of it. I want the cotton wicks, or I should say rayon cotton, to be nice and saturated. I mean, unbelievably saturated. It's going to be a little messy, but okay, but it will soak it up. Okay, now that's good and saturated. I'm going to go ahead and give it a test fire now. You never want to test fire a dry wick, okay? Otherwise it'll burn, and when it comes to cotton and this rayon cotton, its flash point is ridiculously low. So I mean, I think it's maybe a few hundred degrees will start this on fire. So you never want to do it while it's dry. So I'm going to go ahead and test fire it. Oh yeah, the vapor is flying off this thing. I've got a fan blowing on the side here. So warning though, it does tend to taste a little funny for the first, I don't know, maybe 20 hits or something like that. It will taste strange. Make sure that you line your air holes up with the coils so that you get great airflow distribution. And I prefer about a quarter of an open air hole. And let's take this out to full screen and vape it. Okay, so now I'm out to full screen. I'm going to go ahead and take a quick hit off this, show you how it vapes. I got a real nice little cloud there, great flavor. I will warn you, when it comes to the batteries, make sure you get batteries that can handle the load. The best batteries you can possibly get are the Sony VTC, I believe it's 3s or 4s, because they are in the 30 amp, I believe, 30 amp range. They're able to handle, 30 amps draw on the battery, which is great for sub-ohming. And sub-ohming is great for cloud chasers. Great for anybody who enjoys, a good, strong, warm vape. Which, if you are a connoisseur of drippers, as I have become, you will enjoy this. So, take another hit from this. I got coffee juice in here, so it's really good right now. That's about all I got today. How to build a RDA dual coil. I built mine on the Stellaire, and whatever one you're building, I hope you enjoy it. Let's keep on vaping.